So I haven't worked in about 7 years. Just recently got a job, and 2 weeks in, I'm done. I just can't do it. So I'm Julian, and let me just tell you a little bit about what's going on. So I graduated from university, a really good school, in 2020 for cognitive science. And I studied design, I studied user interface, user experience. But while I was in school, I actually liked the neuroscience and the psychology, the philosophy, development, those type of classes a lot more. I did really well in school, barely showed up to my classes, but still finished with a 3.85. But I don't know. It wasn't what I was looking for. Just to backtrack a little bit, when I graduated high school in 2013, I had pretty much thought I was going to follow my dad's footsteps and become a civil engineer. But on the day of my high school graduation, I decided that wasn't for me. And I told them right there that I'm not going to be doing what you're doing, and I got to go find something for myself. A lot of meandering through community college after I had already been accepted to some good schools for engineering and withdrew from them. 4 or 5 years in community college, switching majors a ton, working some, retail and food industry part-time job type deals. Just feeling like none of this was it, It's not the life I was looking for. But in 2019, I took a trip to Hawaii, picked up surfing, and that changed things dramatically. Before that, I was a little materialistic and kind of like ambitious in a status kind of way, I guess you can call it. I felt the need to succeed, to get approval from others, to keep up with the Joneses, to surpass the Joneses, to have nice things. But once I started surfing, all that kind of went out the window. All of a sudden, I realized how simple life could be and how little I actually needed to be happy. So that was during university after I had already gotten for cognitive science. Maybe about a year in. And from there, I just kind of like saw that even though a lot of these professors were bright and they were, at the top of their field or on the bleeding edge of knowledge, they didn't seem to know a lot about life. They didn't seem happy, they didn't seem fulfilled. And going into the university, I was actually wanting to become a professor. That's what was kind of on my mind at that time. But after kind of learning about how academia was and the politics behind it, and just seeing these professors as knowledgeable but not all that wise, not all that thrilled with life, I figured that's not it for me too. So with a handful of months coming up to graduate, I was pretty lost. I was like, school kind of gave me a track to follow all these many, many years, but that's about to come to an end. So what do I do now? I was very lost, and at that time I signed up for a therapist through the school, well, affiliated with the school, not through the school itself. And that was the first time I was to attend therapy. But there was like a long wait list for it, and a couple months passed, and I finally got off the wait list. But by then, for whatever reason, I was already feeling better. I didn't feel too stressed about what was to come anymore, but I decided to go anyways because, I'd never gone, so why not? See what it's about. So I went, and at first there wasn't too much to it. Just introducing myself and talking about what's going on. I was stressed with school a little bit and what I'm gonna do after, yada yada. And I went to like a handful of sessions, and it was nice, but I didn't really see much reason to keep going. But there's a certain point where I was talking about how I felt a lot of pressure about what I was to do with my life after school, that I had this big stress about needing to succeed, needing to do better than my dad, and feeling like, I don't know, I just needed to be largely successful and make massive impact in some way. And the therapist simply asked me, "Who told you this?" And I thought about it. And my parents had never really actually said to me outright that I needed to be really successful or I needed to do big things. I mean, they wanted me to be happy and healthy and they want me to do well, but they never really put that pressure on me to achieve this, I don't know, greatness that I felt like I needed to achieve. So I thought about it some more, and I kind of realized I was putting all this pressure on myself out of nowhere. It was all coming from within. I thought I had to do and live up to all these expectations, but they were all in my head. And that combined with, the realizations of simplicity through surfing, so much pressure was lifted off my shoulders. I felt the freedom that I could do whatever I wanted. I can do big things, I could do small things, I could do whatever suits me. I still didn't know exactly what that would be, but I just felt like I was always chasing something or moving towards this goal that was way out there that I didn't even really know what it was. I just knew that I had to, I don't know, prove myself or something like that. But with that gone, I felt free. So COVID hit after that, and I graduated and didn't really know what to do. But my partner at the time was making some money, so I helped her with her business a little bit. And I was fortunate and privileged enough to just focus on what mattered to me, whatever I wanted to pursue. And I had also fortunately gotten a good job offer without even applying, just through meeting some people, some, I guess, mutual friends, acquaintances of sorts. And I interviewed for that one. It went well, but it was in the field of like social media, UX, UI design, that type of stuff, which, you know, I had some skills in and I had my degree in. But after hearing about it and after that therapy session, I turned down that job, even though it was an amazing opportunity and it was super fortunate to have fallen into my lap. I just thought, life is short and I'm not going to spend it on something that's not meaningful to me, that doesn't resonate with me. And that was a hard decision because the money would have been nice, the experience would have been nice, all the things I could have learned about the industry and working and getting my foot in the door and all that stuff. That was tough to turn down because an opportunity like that doesn't come easily. But again, I was fortunate enough to have the support of my partner and my family, directly and indirectly to some degree, that I can focus on finding what matters to me. And at the very least, I won't starve, I won't be out on the street. And I know that's not the case for everybody. I know I'm very lucky and I'm very privileged in that regard. So I don't take that for granted. I know a lot of you, if you stopped working or you stopped doing what you're doing, it would be very tough. Maybe you have a family to support, maybe you have kids, you have a lot of bills, something like that, right? And that makes it very difficult. I'm lucky enough that, lucky and intentional, that I had very minimal expenses and I made sure to keep my expenses as minimal as possible. And that I have the family support. And that I actually, from my part-time work and other little side hustles here and there during college, saved up some decent money, made some small but decent investments that just made me feel like, yeah, as long as I don't do anything really stupid, I'll have food on the table, I'll have a roof over my head, so I could take my time and figure things out. So after that, I started thinking about things, and actually during the interview for that great opportunity of a job offer, the person I was talking to brought up the book Autobiography of a Yogi. And it's one of Steve Jobs' favorite books that he talks about. And I had heard about it, but I hadn't read it. But because it was brought up during that interview, I decided to read up on it, see what it was about. The guy I was talking to seemed to think it was important and impactful, and if it's Steve Jobs' favorite book or one of his favorite books, there must be something to it, right? So I got into that book, real thick book, read it over the course of like a week or two. And that tied in a lot with the therapy session I had and just the questions I started having in my head over those months and years about what is this all for? You know, what is life about? What am I doing here? What do I want to do? What matters? I saw a lot of unhappy students. I saw a lot of unhappy professors, parents. I saw people that were poor and unhappy. I saw people that were rich and unhappy. People with good jobs that were unhappy. So I kind of was getting the sense that I'm missing something here. Everybody's missing something here, or at least the vast majority of people are missing something here. There's some common denominator that people are just not understanding, and it's the cause of their unhappiness or their misery, because the money clearly doesn't do it for everybody. The success, the job title doesn't do it for everybody. So what am I missing here? So after reading that book, it opened my mind up more to spirituality, to meditation, to just another way of seeing things, to a whole nother realm. I was so like logical and a like materialism type person. Not materialistic. I mean, yeah, to some degree before, but materialism as in like I thought the physical world was kind of all there is. Very not atheist. I was never atheist, but I was kind of against religion and very skeptical about all that stuff, right? But after that book, I was like, there's something to this. Steve Jobs, who I respected, got something of this, so I'm going to start looking deeper into this. And my biggest childhood idol, Kobe Bryant, I had seen one of his videos like, you know, shortly after his death. I was watching some of his stuff, and he was talking about how he meditates every morning in one of his videos. So that all kind of tied in together and made me more open to the concept as well. And in community college, I had read this book by Viktor Frankl, A Man's Search for Meaning. And that was probably like my first introduction to that kind of philosophy, that kind of spirituality. And at that time, that was probably the first book that kind of opened me up to that realm. But I hadn't really touched anything else much until that therapy session like years later. But that book had stayed with me and made me open to all the things that had followed after university. So, finished school, turned down that job, ended up moving back home to save some money and figure out what now. And from there, I spent a lot of time reading, a lot of time meditating. and just trying to find the truth. Just get closer to the truth. What is this all about? I'm the type of person that is almost allergic to investing my time and energy into things I don't care about. When it comes to something I care about, something that matters to me, I go all in. I go crazy about it. I obsess. But on the flip side of that, it's so hard for me to do something that I'm really not invested in. And that ties into the title of this video, and I'll get to that. But from there, my mind and my view of the world started shifting dramatically. I started seeing just how unhealthy and how unbalanced our society is, and how the average person lives, and how high the failure rate of relationships are, how addicted to the phones and drugs people are, how medicated they are, how unhealthy. I started reading and looking into a lot of different religions, philosophies, Buddhism, Hinduism, listening to people like Carl Jung, Alan Watts, Eckhart Tolle, Sadhguru. But most importantly, I spent a lot of my own time in observation, contemplation, and started to see that a lot of what these people were saying, and a lot of these deeper core teachings in religion, started adding up. And in a way that confirmed my own experiences through meditation and through my own observations. Because I realized it wasn't all about belief. It's not about believing these people. It's about experiencing and realizing and seeing things for yourself. And again, I was lucky enough to spend many, many hours in meditation and being unoccupied and away from distractions. So that really helped me glean what is the nature of suffering, what is the nature of emotions and thoughts, and who am I? Who am I really? So fast forward to today. Money's still a thing, right? I still got to make money, and the business that I was helping my partner with is no longer something I'm associated with. So I started having to find my own income. And, you know, I did some stuff here and there, like flipping and just some, again, little side hustles to pay the bills. But I thought, you know, maybe I want to become a certified therapist in the future, and I could use some experience with something related to that, and that can help me apply to grad schools. Maybe that'll be my road. And I can make a little money and pay the bills in the meantime while I do all that. Well, I applied to some jobs over the last month, some mostly behavioral therapist jobs, behavioral technician, and some other unrelated jobs too, just to see what's out there and get some bills paid for now, And again, I hadn't worked since 2018, like at a normal job. I had done, again, stuff on the side and helped with the business, but I hadn't worked for someone for real or had a normal job or applied or interviewed or made a resume all that time. So it was kind of scary in some ways. There was some nerves and anxiety and some insecurities about that. And when I started applying and I started hearing back, fortunately, pretty quickly, I made my resume, and that was like a grind, right? And I started getting some phone interviews and some in-person interviews, and I was like decently nervous for my first interview, even though this is a pretty low-paying job and a entry-level position. It's just not something I had done or been used to in so long. And it's kind of weird explaining my history, like not having a normal job or anything for many years. But they all went well. They all went really well. And I got multiple job offers and BT and some other things. So that gave me some confidence that if I need to, I could always do that again. I could always apply to places. I could always build new skills and show them to potential employers and get hired, do that whole routine, right? But I started my training, did a little bit of work, and very quickly it was wearing me out, and it was just not resonating with me at all. And I'm not saying having a job is a bad thing, and I'm not saying this work or working in general are bad things. I think work is great. Everyone should find their work, and that's a lot about what this video and this channel in general is going to be about. And I know it sounds also a little like whiny and privileged that I can't just apply to jobs after many years and decide it's not for me. And I'm not super financially well off or anything like that. I'm taking some pretty big risks here, and risks that would be uncomfortable to a lot of people. And yeah, I have some support, and I don't have it too difficult for sure. I think I have it easier than most people, but I don't deny that fact, and I just want to take advantage of that. I don't feel the need to be especially shy about that fact or hide that, because I want to use that to actually give back. If I'm fortunate enough to have the time and the security to pursue what really matters to me, then I want to use that to invest in things that will give back in a way that's more aligned with me, and I want to do something that's sustainable to me, that energizes me, that I can keep investing in, can keep getting better in, and keep helping more and more people and make a bigger impact. And not to show off, not to get anyone's approval, but because it really matters to me. And I think I'm, finally starting to find that. And part of why I'm quitting so soon, but happy to have gotten a job and applied and gone through the whole process to see that it wasn't for me, that I'm someone who would rather take this risk and follow what sounds right for me. And I'm confident that it's going to pay off. I mean, it's a little scary, and worst comes to worst, I do have to pick up some other income elsewhere in the meantime. I have nothing against the BT jobs, and I have a lot of respect for the people that do that and a lot of other work that's genuinely serving people. I am realizing that I need to serve the people in the way that works best for me, and that suits my interests, my talents, my curiosities. And that's what I'm doing here. It's helping people find the truth and understand the truth about happiness and suffering and relationships in life, and most importantly, exuding their existence, which means being their authentic selves to the absolute fullest. Everybody has a unique genius within them. Everybody's different and special and creative and imaginative in different ways. We all have different intrinsic interests, and we're getting to the point where survival is not becoming an issue for a lot of us, and people aren't happy with a lot of how the current system is. The education's poor, the healthcare, the food. I want to put the power back in the people's hands, and for people to regain trust in themselves and each other. Less dependence on authority, less dependence on the central government. And I'm not saying any of these things are necessarily good or bad. There's pros and cons to all of it, and there's good and bad about all of it. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, I want you to live the life that's meant for you. And I want to live the life that's meant for me. Life's too short to play it safe, to conform, to live for another person's approval. And I'm not bashing you if you have to do that to get by, if you have to do that to survive. There's nothing wrong with that. I respect you no matter where you're at. And I want to help those that are ready to take the leap, to really find themselves and see who they really are and unleash their full creative potential and powers. Because I envision a world where everybody maximizes their own potential. Everybody unleashes their inner genius, and with someone that could be painting, with another it could be cooking, music, philosophy, law, construction, engineering. I think that would be the most interesting, beautiful future possible, where none of us are just mindless drones living paycheck to paycheck, just getting by, but we're all joyously creating and serving exactly in the way that's meant for each and every one of us, where everybody gets to the point of the Albert Einsteins, the Bruce Lees, the Steve Jobs. I think a lot of the misery and suffering in the world come from people not doing their work, the work that's meant for them. The War of Art is a great book about this. It talks about resistance, and it talks about doing your work, and how so many of the illnesses and war and just issues on this planet come because we're procrastinating or we're avoiding the work or the art that's meant for us. So I'm done avoiding it. I'm done playing it safe. So after 7 years without a job, I work and get a job for a couple weeks, and I'm leaving it behind In a few days, I'm going to go away on a Vipassana retreat, 10-day Vipassana retreat. No talking, no technology, no connecting with others during that time. Just 10 hours of meditation a day. And I'm going to get back to what matters to me, which is contemplation, philosophy, discovering the truth, moving slowly, simplicity, and sharing these experiences, sharing what I learned, because through my previous meditations and pursuit of the truth and slowing down, I benefited so much. My life improved dramatically. My emotions changed, my experience and my relationship with myself, with others, my insight and understanding of everything from relationships to health to politics. So I'm really finding what's for me and the right way for me to serve. And YouTube is going to be the platform, the main platform on which I go about doing that. And I just wanted to put this out there before I go on the retreat in a few days, and we'll be out of touch for 10, 11 days. And I want to share what I take away when I get back. And I want to keep doing this. I want to keep sharing more of what I've learned and experienced over the years of getting to do what I've done. And I want to keep working and serving in this way that matters a lot to me. I want to see other people thrive and find the joy and peace and creativity and expression and overcoming fear that I got to go through over these years and through these fortunate and privileged experiences. I want to pay back those that supported me and everyone else too. Again, I'm taking a decent financial risk here and, in a way potentially sabotaging career options again and making it hard for me to go the traditional, normal route. But these last couple weeks, last month or so, with all these job applications and working and training, all that stuff, it showed me what I needed to see. I don't regret it at all. I'm glad I did it. It's made me more committed, more sure-minded with where I'm going to take this. And that's what the Vipassana retreat is about too, to get more clarity and just see what's hidden to me. What am I blind to, and what am I going to do with my life, and how am I going to do it? So I hope you got something out of this. It was just a lot of talking about my background and rambling about what's going on with me. I hope it inspires some others to take action and take some risk and follow your heart, follow your dreams. Find what resonates with you. Exude your existence. Start being creative, start being bold, especially if you're young and you don't have much to lose, you don't have much responsibilities. Just go after your dreams now. Invest and spend time on the things you like, that's fun to you, that feels like play, and it could end up being your work. It could look like and feel like work to someone else, but for you, that could be your thing. Don't worry too much about the safe or the secure or the normal way of doing things. Unless you're one paycheck away from the streets or starvation, there's probably way more room for risk and rolling the dice than you think there is. And trust in yourself, because I mean, even if you fail, you'll learn and you'll get better and you'll make improvements, which will lead to success, or you'll find a way to recover. There's very few things that you take the risk and you lose that gamble and it devastates you and you can't come back from it. That's not the case very much these days. And if it is, you know, and you know what you got to do. But if it's not, I urge you to exude your existence. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.